good night. So, a few additional remarks regarding our Full Metal Jacket. Of course, I'm not a scientist and I know nothing about it, but it's important for me to document my thoughts on the matter because just for future reference. So first, I've asked if there is something that in Earth that is somehow looks similar, because it looks similar to many wasps and hornets. That was evident to me, even for without any background. Just it's pretty evident that this is kind of in contrast to the fact that we've seen in the that were created in the crucible, but not to like a living condition, but enough to see almost a complete form. And these were evidently not like Earth's insects. So in contrast to these guys that were manifestly alien, this the Full Metal Jacket, for me, at least for me, wasn't it wasn't evident that it's alien by the way that it looks. What made me suspicious is just the fact that it was uncomfortable that like a big wasp is around me, so I tried to kill that, and I sort of did, and put it in a garbage, and it's just it got out of there. And then I killed it again and put it in the garbage again and again. So after the third time that it crept out of the garbage can, I thought, okay, so this guy is it's either remarkable physical characteristic, which turned out to be true, or a really exceptional willpower, a willpower which is uncommon in the bug in the insect kingdom. So it should be said that the way it's not completely fair that I said that I wrote it as a deed, against him, that he died, he drowned in the water, in the terrarium. But actually, it should be said that he was hurt. He couldn't fly. It was after a human. Not even a human. Actually, some would argue something stronger than human. Fought it fiercely. So, maybe it's not that maybe it's not that disadvantage. The thick armor, because I thought maybe it's this armor is kind of a disadvantage if it drones. But it's not fair to judge the whole species by the conduct of a very hurt specimen. But anyway, it looks like many wasps and hornets. So I couldn't just by the way it looks, I couldn't say that it's alien origin. But of course, after I died, it turned out that it's made of incredibly it's like a tank. It's made of incredibly strong material. So no, it's not. It's something else. But still, there is a question of of the morphology. So yeah, there is one kind of wasp it's called the mud dauber or der dauber, that sometimes looks very similar actually. Of all the ones that I've seen in YouTube and Wikipedia, it's got the characteristic of this kind of a tail that is very far apart from the body and connected with a very very thin string. Interestingly, it's called mud or dirt because our guy was also created in the crucible, which is also made of clay or dirt, mud. I don't know. For those that poetic references. So yeah, the morphology, as I suspected, initially, is not something entirely alien to Earth. It looks very similar to this, even though it doesn't look exactly like mud dauber. And it's different enough to know that they are certainly not of the same species. Even without inspecting, just by the look, you can say that it's not the same species. And but of course, there are so many species that maybe there are others that are even more similar by the way that they look. So regarding the question of what is it like? What's it the purpose of this kind of like tail that is like? So first, I should say that the tail of the Full Metal Jacket is bigger and of course it's tremendously stronger because it's made of metal. But it's also bigger than that of the Mad Dober, and the fact is it's that big, and also that this detached as like similar to the Mad Dober. Actually lends credit to several assumptions that I've seen in the comments that probably are true. And first one, that it's used as a weapon, like as a formidable tail, whipping tail, which is probably true. And also that it might help. This requires of course much more investigation, but it might help with balance. The same way that the huge tail helps like lizards like T-Rex and other lizards when they're running. So it gives you some kind of answer to its to the morphology. Now regarding who is exactly endangered by this guy? So realistically everybody. And one thing that I haven't thought about immediately, but after watching some YouTube, it became evident to me that it's very dangerous for other wasps and hornets and bees, because these guys tend to fight each other and to create giant wars. And because they fight over the most dramatic battles are perhaps the ones of the very big wasps, like killer wasps. That sometimes they invade the nests of smaller bees or wasps, and even 30 or 50 of these can kill tens of thousands of bees or regular wasps in huge battles. Because the incentive for this battle, so the question is, what's the incentive? So the incentive is to get the nest, the pupas, the younglings inside the nest that are they like to eat and all. But other material as well. And many times in such battles, the only kind of weapon, or the most effective weapon of the defenders against the huge invaders are heat. The fact that they just swarm over the invaders, and the invaders are much stronger and bigger and aggressive, but eventually they are what's happening is that there are so many of the defenders that they're just they hit even very maybe they hit they cannot penetrate the armor of the invader, but they do it so many times that it's create friction and heat, and the heat exhausts the defender, and they just pass out from the heat. But it should be said that probably this kind of attack would mean nothing against the Full Metal Jacket, because it was born in a crucible, so probably it can sustain any kind of heat, the damage it probably can no problem at all with any heat that that can be affected by it. And of course its armor is tremendously stronger and thicker than any kind of killer wasp that you can find in Earth. So probably now I don't know. Of course, they are used social. They are social workers. These the Full Metal Jackets, but it's a question do they know to act because even within the social worker, the social worker animals, not all can. They like to hunt together, or to get resources together. Some are more in solo or very small groups. So I would assume that these creatures have incredible social. They are not only social workers, but they can actually hunt or create raids together. And this is based on the fact that they are not only created by the Neros, but they are they are made of Neros. This was not only speculation. We've seen it in the microscope that there are many Neros over the body. And the Neros, if there are one thing that is they're amazing, but it's beyond any kind of thing to prove that that they communicate with each other even in interplanetary scale, and certainly in small scale. They are amazing in communication and in cooperation, and that was demonstrated since long ago. So I would suggest that these bugs as well can like work, can like create raids together, which means that, I mean, like a coordinated attack of like 100 or 1,000 of these like Full Metal Jackets probably can erase. I mean, it's not overestimation to say that they can like delete hundreds of millions of bees and like, I mean, over a span of just a few days. It's not over, like probably hundreds of millions of bees and wasps. Now, but there is a question of like, I mean, what's the motivation? I mean, because maybe there is no motivation, so why should be a matchup to begin with? But actually, there might be motivation. I mean, it's not intuitive, but maybe the motivation could be the vax, not the pupas. I mean, not the younglings, but the vax itself, because they are made of vax. So maybe, I mean, it seems reasonable that they also like to eat vax. And if this is true, I mean, even if they don't need much, I mean, they do need some, and I mean, where can they find the vax? Inside like the nests of bees, and this is enough, like, I mean, to create matchups that, I mean, will probably annihilate, I mean, whole populations of bees and the hornets. And this, I mean, this can be of a worry to two kinds of humans. Ones are like the ones like honey, but they can still use silan, you know, that are made of dates. So this is less of a big deal. And also anyone that cares about agriculture, because it is known that bees and wasps, hornets are, I mean, are very important for all sorts of like, I mean, agricultural purposes. But in Israel, I mean, they never like actually produce their own food. I mean, the food comes like, you know, from abroad, like in, you know, in ships, as it was always had been, like as everything else, you know, not only the food but everything. This country, I mean, you know, it's only good in like producing noise and torture, and you know, it exists basically because, I mean, the other nations needed like a trash can. So, I mean, because they don't like to deal with the garbage in their own place, so they just throw the garbage to the trash can, and that's why the state of Israel exists for so long. But yeah, I mean, if these the Full Metal Jacket will, if they cross the border, I am not sure they respect, like, I mean, they respect, you know, like kind of like, I mean, the human created like nation borders. But if they don't, and they invade maybe Egypt and Syria and Jordan, and perhaps it would be kind of like, I mean, a problem, because I mean, there are states in the Middle East that do produce food, and they might like not take it like in the best kind of like way. That, I mean, agriculture will probably die very quickly. I mean, because the Israelis, it was so important for them to torture the representative of another species, and yeah. But I mean, you know, humans are humans, you know. Should be said very clearly that the Arabs, I mean, they use the state of Israel as a trash can as well, and I've said it many times. So maybe it's another opportunity to state it. I mean, if it's not obvious to you, while many of them are in all sorts of conflict with Israel for a long time, at the same time they also used Israel as a trash can since like the early 1950s. So they are also responsible for the situation. Regarding the question of what's the origin of this creature, because again, my assumption is that the Neo was created, of course, ex nihilo. I mean, using knowledge, but I mean, of the creature. But my assumption is that they did not engineer this creature, I mean, right here, right now, for this place, but they actually know this creature from another place, and they created, like, I mean, they created it here, but based on knowledge of a creature which is identical or very similar that they found in another place. So what's this place? Again, I don't know. My assumption is it's not Venus. My assumption is it's probably a planet that is on average significantly hotter than Earth, and also with more pressure, surface pressure, even though not like, I mean, the fake image of Venus, 90 atmospheres and 500 Celsius. This is extreme and doesn't make sense. But probably more than hotter than, and this is not true for the real Venus. But I'm not 100% certain. Now another question is, what's the source of energy of this stuff? Because you need a lot of energy in order to to fly, and to operate this body. This is, certainly this body is require much more energy than regular wasps and hornets. So the answer to this question is that most probably this cannot be answered. This is where the biological approach comes to an end. Because it can serve us to some extent. To compare this, the biomechanics or the morphology or the eating habits or the war habits or the social attributes to Earth creatures. Using the biological approach, it can serve us, but only to some extent. And I think that this kind of approach comes to a dead end when we speak about energy, because almost certainly, in order to understand the metabolism of this creature, you need to understand the neurons. And it's too difficult. And I don't have any. Even though I studied it for 10 months now, I don't have not the background, and neither the tools that are required to actually even begin to understand energy cycles or energy processes, or heat, and certainly heat cycle, heat, the thermodynamics of the neurons. It's probably something completely alien and much more advanced than anything that humans know, and for certain these issues are strongly related to the issue of energy, of the energy of metabolism of the Full Metal Jacket. So that's all for now. Again, this is I'll gladly get any kind of comments, specifically because this is purely scientific issue, and of course science should be open and peer reviewed, and open to discussion of everybody, and especially if there are professionals in the audience. So certainly it will be very enlightening to get their comments on the matter at hand.